Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another round of our Tier 3 F1 2019 WCR Championship as the calendar is getting to its 9th round, and the calendar is also taking us to the city of Spielberg. It's taking us to the Red Bull Ring, home of the Austrian Grand Prix. 10 turns, most of them very fast, but also very bumpy in this 4.3 kilometer circuit. We've seen some really good action, some really exciting races in both real life Grand Prix, and in our sim racing championships as well over the years. Of course, this track, lots of long straights, lots of DRS zones as well, promoting overtakings to happen. So some action is for sure going to be on the cards for today, and of course the location of the track, surrounded by quite a few mountains, makes a little bit of a microclimate that can play its tricks on our drivers. In terms of the standings, we have Venice leading the championship, over 100 points for the Portuguese, followed by both McLaren's in Valo and Hydroden, who are only 1 point apart, as Brad Pitt, the best of the Ferraris, follows in P4, and Arza, or a keyboard Magnussen, follows in P5. After that, we have Rat, followed by Slash LP, X-Nuke in 8th, just in front of his teammates, both tied, as we have Panda in 9th, and Mr. Mouse closing the top 10. Moving to the constructor standings, it's the McLaren team leading the championship with 107 points, followed by the Alfa Romeo 6 points behind, as Ferrari follows in third with 96 points, 10 points exactly ahead of the American-based Haas team, as the Silverstone-based Racing Point follows in fifth with 73 points. 3 points behind, we have the Frenchmen's in the Renault team, followed by the home team Red Bull with 68, 2 points above the Mercedes. The Brackley-based team only has 66 points so far, 5 ahead of Toro Rosso, as the Groove-based Williams sits in last place with 56 points to their name. So with that, we can get ourselves started with our qualifying session, and OBS is trying to not detect the game for a second. Thank you very much. Just organizing everything on my second monitor. And okay, oh, we don't have sound, so thank you, video game. Okay, sound is back. We managed to fix it. But yeah, we have a bit of action out there as well. We are starting to get a few outlaps. Some drivers are going to also start with their flying laps. Let's take a look at Delta, as he started his first lap. Let's see how he does. The German, that is 15th in the championship at this point, hasn't scored a single point since his podium at China. DNF at Spain, didn't show up for Monaco, and 2 11th place finishes in the last 2 races. Hopefully the Red Bull driver will be able to get himself some good amount of points, especially since his teammate just got a podium at the French Grand Prix. He needs to really up his pace if he wants to be in contention for anything at this point. Let's see how it goes for him. It's going to be completing his second sector. 45.6 is his total lap time so far. He's going to get himself out of turn 8, and now to these very fast 2 last corners. Full commitment through turn 9 and through turn 10, down to 4th gear even. I usually use 5th gear, but he actually drops down to 4. Nonetheless, fastest so far. 105.7, of course, is the first to cross the line. Let's check in on his teammate. He's actually started his lap a bit soon. We have Elemental gets P3, X-Nuke with new provisory pole. Keyboard Magnussen gets himself a P2 with 105.4 provisorily. Valu gets himself a 105.8. Tyser just 1/10 behind. Hydroden, 3/10 quicker than previous pole, gets himself the top step of the tables. We have Colin getting ready now to close out his lap. Let's see what he does. He's one of the few drivers at the moment on the hard tires. He's going very slowly. 3rd gear coming out of the last corner. Nonetheless, going to get himself through the line. Oh, he got his lap nullified, so he's going to have to try again. ALG and Brad Pitt also got their laps nullified. So let's see how it goes. Mr. Mouse is going to get his Red Bull through the line. Let's see what he does. He's currently 10th in the championships, also aborts his lap. He got 2 podiums in the last 3 races. France didn't go accordingly to plan. Hopefully, he can get back to those very good results. We have Venez, the championship leader, going to get himself through the line, and he also got his lap nullified, which is a bit of a shame. We have Colin trying to get a cooldown lap. He's going to be starting his flying lap soon. We have /LP, the Argentine from the Mercedes, just got himself on his out lap. We have Steph Farrell, who is making his debut in Tier 3. He's going to drive as a reserve for the Williams team today, and he's going to start his lap on the hards. Actually surprised to see how the American driver will do. He's going to get himself DRS coming out of turn number 1. Very long run through this left kink, which is officially turn 2, and into the hard braking zone of turn 3. Ooh, that could have been a nullification of the lap right there. Not sure about that one. Nonetheless, he's going to keep on going as Mr. Mouse does a repeat of his lap, climbs up to P2. He gets himself a 1:05.1, so very nicely done from the Dutch driver of the Red Bull, still following the American driver. Let's see how he gets himself through this last corner of the second sector. 46.3. I've seen people slower on quicker tires. Let's see how it goes. You actually have yellow flags, probably some people letting their rivals through. As look at that, full commitment to turn 9 and 9 to turn 10. Could have used a bit of the curb on the entry to give a better angle. Nonetheless, he's going to get himself through the line. DRS wide open, and it is P9. Best out of the hard tire runners. Steph Farrell with a 1:06.9. Still has to work a little bit to get higher, as ALG does an improvement on his third lap on those hards to a 1:06.6. We have Slash on his lap. Is currently through the second sector as he comes out of turn number 7 and now, turn number 6. Now this is 7 and 8 combination, and is now getting ready for the last 2 corners of these Austrian layouts. Let's see what he does. The Mercedes driver, who has scored 1 point in the last 4 races, including 2 DNFs at Spain and Monaco. He does get himself through the line, did not go accordingly to plan. He's going to have to try again later on. Now jump to the Portuguese, who's going to the pits after 2 laps on the mediums. Maybe he was trying to start on the mediums, but it just nullified his laps, or maybe it's just doing some practice on those tires before going to the softs. The Brett, though, is going to get himself started with a lap. The Brett, who has won 2 times in this championship, 1 at Azerbaijan and 1 at Canada. 9th place at France, though, so didn't went accordingly to his hopes, but maybe he's going to look to strike back to a good form as he gets a 16.0. Very good first sector as he gets himself now very sensitive on the throttle. You must be to put the power down nicely at the exit of turn number 3. Now you get downhill. It's going to be downhill from turn 3 until the end of the lap. So he gets himself through turns number 4 and 5, which is just an extension of the right-handers. Gets now into turn number 6 to close out the second sector. Managed to not go too wide. 44.8, not too bad from the Dutchman. Gets himself now through turn number 8. Still has plenty of energy left. Let's see how committed he is through the last few corners. He could have been a bit more aggressive on that last curve, and through the last one he did that one nicely, though. He's going to get himself through the line. It's going to be pole 1:04.6. Very good lap from the Ferrari driver, taking the number 21 to the top of the table at the moment. We have Colin on a flying lap of his own, but he's still in the second sector. We have Elemental a bit further behind. We have Tyser, looks like he's about to get through with his lap. Yes, he is. Moves up to P7. Beats Valu, who's also in the second sector. He's improving, though. We have Keyboard Magnussen also in the second sector. We have quite a few drivers in the second sector. iJordan just started his lap. Let's see what... Oh, Delta with a mistake there. Not sure what happened to him. But he's going to take it back to the pits, that's for sure. We have Elemental getting through the last few corners. Let's see what the Hungarian does. He hasn't scored a point since his 6th place at Spain. He does get P10 for the time being. Venez's teammate is on an outlap at the moment. Taking a look at Keyboard Magnussen, gets P6 with a 1/10 improvement. Best, well, he's the only Renault driver racing today, but at least is getting himself a solid position in the top 10. Going to jump to Hydrodan as Valu in the meantime completed his lap of 1.5.0, beating his teammate by 0.003 of a second. Will Hydrodan get himself into the 104s? Let's find out. As getting himself now through the last few corners. He's going to take the number 15 through turn number 10. He actually, a bit wide there. Let's see what he does. Going to get the RS wide open. Is he going to improve? He does not improve. 105.1. I do feel like these drivers are getting a bit too slow to the last corner. I use 5th gear, and they are using 4th gear. Not sure why, but I do find it weird that they are using that gear through the last corner. Steph Farrell and Vanez have started their laps. Let's go on board with our championship leader, getting himself a bit too deep there into turn number 3. Nonetheless, going to get a clean exit, but that could have cost him a few tenths. Let's see how it goes. It starts getting downhill on the very tough approach into turn number 4. Of course, you are trying to slow down the car while downshifting and cornering. The tires usually and the brakes usually don't like that very much. Getting himself now to turn number 6, needs to the apex. Didn't quite manage to do that one. That's bound to cost him a bit of a tenth. Getting himself a bit wide as well on the transition between turn 7 and 8. Let's see, he could gain a lot of time through these last few corners. He goes wide, doesn't really touch the curb there. You are not supposed to touch the curb, otherwise you spin. You are supposed to mount it. Nonetheless, P9 for the Portuguese with a 105.4. We also have Mr. Mouse out there. We have also Steph Farrell completes a lap on the mediums. 12th place for him at this point. Rat on the hard so far has only managed 13th. Let's see where X-Nuke is. Just behind Mr. Mouse, we have Delta on a lap of his own. He has just started it. So let's take a look at the Red Bull. Mr. Mouse, as I've told you guys, 2 podiums in the last 3 races. It's the only podiums of the season for him as well. 2 second places at Monaco and Canada. Let's see how he gets. 2nd place as well. On the dot, 104.7. Very nicely done from the number 13 there. So hopefully he can take that one to have a great race. We also had Nuke, who gets himself P5 with a 105.3 in the Haas. And we have Delta, who is about to get done with his lap. So let's see what the German does. He's currently pushing, going to approach the last few corners as one of the Williams, I'm guessing it's Rat, gets out of the way. Let's see what the German does. Going to get himself through the last corner. Can he get himself further up the order? And no, he does not. Doesn't improve by just under a tenth. Not enough to make him progress up the order. Tyser just starts his lap. The Hungarian is going to try to get himself better than that. 10th place he occupies at the moment. We also had Colin and Keyboard Magnussen going with their laps. Elemental also just started his lap. ALG and /LP also are going for it. But let's follow the Hungarian. He was currently 11th place in the championship. His best result was a 4th place at Monaco. He hasn't really been able to get a podium just yet. He hasn't been able to get consistently in the top 5s. He's usually in the points though, so that's good for him. He's currently tied with Colin, I believe. Yes, both with 37 points so far. He's only 4 points ahead from the top 10, or 4 points ahead from Mr. Mouse. So let's see how it goes. Tyser going to get himself through the last corner. Is he going to get himself into the top 10? Vanez in the meantime gets P3. Tyser crosses over the line. An improvement, but not good enough of an improvement to get himself in the top 10. Going to take a look at Valu, who is currently in sector 2. Brad is in the pits. Let's take a look to Rat. Let's see how he's doing on that set of mediums. He's improving by half a second at this point. Valu, I believe, is just behind him, right? Let me confirm that. Yeah, Valu is just behind him. So let's see. Hydrodan just also started his lap. Let's see what the Dane does with his Williams. He has won a race this season. He's going to get himself through the line. 8th improvement, not enough to climb any spots at these points. Valu is going to get himself through the line. and he does get himself just a 1.5.0, so top 4 for him, and Hydroden is going to also get done with his lap. He's not improving as he finishes sector number 2, 2/10 down on, or sorry, 2/10 up on his previous best. Could he get himself still into the 104s with a monstrous last sector? Let's see how it goes for him. He's going to get himself through the last corner. He's going to slam on the throttle. He's going to start derating though, unfortunately. He's going to cross over the line. He did improve in the last sector, but not enough to make up the mistakes of the other two. Gets himself still in P5 for the time being. Steph Farrell, the debutee, is going at it on a set of softs, trying to get at least one of the Williams out of the, or into the top 10 rather. So let's see how it goes. You also have X-Nuke readying himself to take his Haas for a flying lap. But let's see what the American does. 106.1 is the fastest lap so far, so of course a bit of margin for improvement there. Let's see what the American driver does. Going to get himself out of turn number 4 and 5. Now, also a tricky braking zone to spot this one into turn number 6. Nonetheless, he does it nicely. Going to get himself a half a second improvement. He's on his way to a 1.6, which wouldn't make him move too many spots in the standings. Let's see how he does getting through the last few corners. Here comes the Williams through the last corner. It's going to open the RS, going to cross over the line. It's going to be P10 with the 105.3, 8 stands improvements as X-Nuke actually crashes out of the session. Nuke has made a big mistake. He went into a wall somewhere and he is out of the session. We have ALG about to start his flying lap. We have Colin just out of the pits, and we have Keyboard Magnussen just out of the pits as well. So we have those three guys going to be starting their flying laps rather soon. The Spaniard of the Red Bull, who is currently behind his teammate, is in 14th place. His debut was only at Spain, so yes, he hasn't been racing since the start of the season. Nonetheless, he got a very good debut with a 3rd place at Spain, then a DNF at Monaco, didn't show up, sorry, DNF at Monaco, then 13th place at Canada, and 4th place at France. So a bit of inconsistency in these first few races. Maybe ALG can get himself another top 5 place here at the Red Bull Ring. Of course, it's going to be the home race of the team. So let's see how it goes. Hey Thiago, how are you doing, man? But yeah, in the meantime, I'm going to wait and see what the Spaniard does. The number 14 is going to get himself through turn number 6, hugging the apex on the exit very nicely indeed at the end of the 2nd sector. He is improving by just under 4/10. Let's see how it goes for him. Let's see how committed he is heading into the last corner. He mounts the second to last corner very nicely, mounts the last curve very nicely as well. Going to get himself through the line. It's going to be a 104. It's going to be pulled. No! 29 thousandths of a second below his teammate. Look at how close that is between them. As we're going to jump to Colin, who in the meantime got himself P9 so far on that set of mediums. 105.2. Keyboard Magnussen is also going to complete a lap of his own. Let's see what the 5th place in the championship driver does. He has a podium, P3 at Canada. He gets himself through the line and he doesn't improve. Some big mistake somewhere along the way. He's going to have another go at it. Valu and Hydroden just started their flying laps. Venez is also at the end of the 1st sector. He gets himself P4 for the time being. The checkered flag has dropped for /LP and Steph Farrell. They won't be able to improve. Elemental also gets P13, best case scenario. And we also have that is Rat moving up to P10 on a set of softs. Sticer, 14th place. He beats Elemental, but can't go much higher than that with a 105.4. The Brat, the Dutchman. Oh, there's a mistake from one of the Red Bulls. Is that Mr. Mouse? Yes, it is. Mr. Mouse with a big mistake is going to miss out of the possibility on getting pole. The Brat gets himself provisory pole with a 1.404. Very rapid stuff from these drivers. Valu is going to get himself through the line, not before his teammate though. Hydro then climbs up to P4. Valu, can he beat him? No, he does not, by exactly exactly 2/10 of a second. We have Venice now, who's going to get himself to the line. Let's see what he does. P6, he doesn't improve. Made a big mistake on his lap. He doesn't improve. Mr. Mouse also gets into the pits, and Colin is also going to get himself into the pits. So that is it for our qualifying session. Brad Pitt is going to get himself the pole position for today's Grand Prix. The Ferrari beats both Red Bulls, and then it is also the duo of McLarens behind the home team, followed by the championship leader in Venice, followed by Keyboard Magnussen / LP in P8, Colin, the only medium tire starter, in P9, and Rat closes the top 10. Then we have X-Nuke, who had a big mistake on his last flying lap. What's wrong with my micro? Is making a lot of noise? What do you mean? I'm going to try to listen to myself. Give me a moment. Team, followed by the championship leader in... Oh yeah, it's not good at all. Something's wrong with my microphone. That's weird. Maybe... not sure. Is it better now? I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely something's wrong with it. Can't quite tell what it is, though. Not gonna lie, but listening to it, it sounds a bit off. I can't quite... Could I go on the settings? While we wait for the start of the race, let me try to fix this. Let me go on the settings. And... I don't really want to mess up. I don't want to mess up my audio settings just now, but yeah, I upgraded a couple days ago to Windows 10, so maybe it screwed up my settings. So yeah, I apologize for all the distortion on the microphone. I hope the microphone isn't kicking the bucket, because I spent quite a few bucks on this. But yeah, let me just listen to it again. Yeah, I upgraded a couple days ago to Windows 10, so maybe it screwed up my settings. Well, hopefully I listened to it, it's a little bit better, but yeah. Yeah, maybe that's it. I'll try to keep it clean for you guys. But yeah, we have already started the Grand Prix. And yeah, thank you for the heads up, Tiago. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you, chat. And going to get our details, as you guys can see. And as you guys can see, only Delta and Elemental aren't starting on the mediums. I thought Colin was also starting on the mediums. Looks like he's not. So yeah, everybody in the top 12 on the softs. Then it's Tyser also on the softs. But big disparity between the performances of both Ferraris. Tyser in 14th place at the end of the qualifying. Tyser is 11th in the championship. He needs some points to get himself into the top 10. Brad Pitt has won 2 times this championship. He hasn't had the greatest of consistencies. Didn't show up for Albert Park. Got P7 at Bahrain. Didn't show up for China. Won Azerbaijan. Didn't show up for Spain. DNF at Monaco. First place at Canada. And 9th place at France. So really an up and down season for the Brad. Nonetheless, he still made it himself good enough points to be tied with Arza, closing the top 5. Brad Pitt is in P4. Arza or Keyboard Magnussen is they are both P4 and P5, both with 58 points at this moment. Rat just 2 points away from the last guys of the top 5. He has gotten himself, actually did it? No, he got himself P10 in qualifying, so he also needs a few points. Let's see how it goes. We have the grid forming itself up again. We have Elemental as the last driver to get into his designated spot. Let's see how it goes. Everything is ready then. And there you have it. 1, 2, 3, 4 forward lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix. You have a good start from the back, a good start from the Mercedes at the back. Venice having a very poor start. There's also Toro Rosso getting himself wide. Valo gets wide. LG got himself up 2P4. That's going to be a drag race between Mr. Mouse and the Pratt. Let's see which one of those it might turn into a 3-wide battle. Let's see. Valo gets himself very lonely. Then there's a Mercedes that Slash trying to make up from positions. There's a couple of collisions that he has, and the Toro Rosso that is Nuke and Colin go down a few positions. Hydra then is going to try to overtake the Mercedes. He does get a better exit out of turn number 3. Let's see who is the last of the late breakers into that right-hander, and the Mercedes maintains the inside line, maintains P6 for the time being. So it is Brett leading, followed by Mr. Mouse, Valo, Keyboard, Magnussen getting himself up to P4. Great start from him. ALG, oh, and Slash loses the rear coming out of turn 6. He's going to have quite a trip through the grass. Well, and he's also, oh, he didn't get a penalty. Okay, I thought that he was going to get a penalty. Looks like he's actually not going to do so. AJ Kabeshat, how are you guys doing? But yeah, looking back at the front, it is the Brat still leading out of turn 1. Of course, he gets himself the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. ALG getting himself not the greatest start. He got himself a P3 on the grid, got himself demoted down to P5 at the end of the first lap, so not exactly an ideal start from the Red Bull driver, even though very competent driver, of course. Let's see if he can retaliate, as we have Colin and Rat going for a tussle there into turn number 3, and Rat a bit forceful that was. Nuke got himself away from all of that confusion, but Colin is going to have a better exit than Rat all the way down into turn number 4, and Rat isn't able to put the traction down quite as early, and Colin takes advantage of that, gets or maintains P9 for the time being. We also had Slash, the Mercedes driver, after his mistake, able to recover a position. Elemental, the Hungarian, drops down to P15. Taking a look once again at the front, Brat is starting to pull away ever so slightly from Mr. Mouse. Valu still P3. Then we still have Keyboard Magnussen with ALG quite close to him, and it is a very tight pack. Especially at this track, you can just keep yourself in the slipstream of other cars. Of course, you can suffer a bit from the dirty air effect through the middle sector. So let's see how that one goes. And yes, Jacob, Ferrari and Red Bull. The Red Bull are not only 1-2 with the Ferraris, so Ferrari first, Red Bull 2. One of the Red Bulls also had a bad start, so I guess every box is getting ticked at the moment, as we have ALG, who after his bad start, the drivers are starting to get DRS at their availability at this point. No moves done just yet, as soon as I say that, we have a battle between our American debutee and the Hungarian driver of the Ferrari. A bit of a nice switch back there from Steparel to maintain P12, at least for the time being. Brett gets himself 2 seconds away from Mr. Mouse. Not sure if that is, I mean, he did lose quite a bit of time, so yeah, that is probably accurate. Mr. Mouse already with a 3-second time penalty, not exactly ideal for the Dutch driver, and is going to start coming from a lot of pressure. Elemental overtakes Tyser. Slash gets down to P15 somewhere along the way, and let's see, we have yellow flags at sector 3. Something might have happened with Tyser, not exactly sure, but we are going to take a look at Valu. Is he going to challenge the Red Bull into turn number 3? No, he does not. Let's take a look. Is Venice getting pressurized? Not yet. Nuke in 8th, Colin in 9th. Rat is going for it once again. He's going to get a better exit this time. Going to get DRS, going to get mode number 4 for VRS, going to get himself a better run. There's contact between Rat and Colin. Just a gallop there, just a slight contact there. But Rat is forced to the inside, getting himself out of turn number 4 and 5. And Colin maintains a P9. There was also a change of position between Valu and Mr. Mouse into turn 4. The McLaren got himself P2, so very nicely done for Valu. Hydraden also lost a place from the start of the Grand Prix, so Hydraden, just like all ALG, not getting the best start so far. Nonetheless, the back is very tight from P2 downwards. P2 to P9, I would say it's very, very tight, or P2 to P8. So let's see how it develops. In the meantime, we have Mr. Mouse, who, as his teammate ALG, gets himself a 3-second time penalty. So both Red Bulls with penalties at this point. Will the Dutchman attack the Finn? of the McLaren. No, it does not just yet, but Keyboard Magnussen did get a better line to it, possibly a better exit. Is going to mode 2 OVRS, so not really going to push for it just yet. We have X-Nuke with a window of opportunity, is going to challenge the Portuguese of the Alfa Romeo. Takes a look at inside, a bit of contact there, but both front wings intact. And Nuke is going to have a go around the outside of turn number 6, is going to make it stick. Venice does have a bit of damage on the right side of his front wing. Ooh, the Haas lost a bit of speed coming out of that gravel zone. Nonetheless, he does get around the outside into turn number 8, and he does make the move on the Portuguese. Very nicely done from the Haas driver. Very good maneuver. Ooh, Venice having a bit of a tank slapper there. Rat is going to take advantage of that one, getting DRS and the slipstream as well. He's going to back off a little bit. He's going for the switchback. Venice is certainly struggling from his front wing damage, and Rat moves up to P8. Colin also overtakes him, and we have another round of the Mr. Mouse value battle. Mr. Mouse this time around overtook the McLaren even before the braking zone. Will the McLaren turn back the favor? Let's see how it goes as we start going downhill into turn number 4. Will Valu send it? No, not yet. Mouse having his front tires complain a little bit on the braking zone into that corner as X-Nuke is going for a battle once again. Rat sends it down the inside. I know X-Nuke went a bit wide, not sure if he was forced wide for the Williams, couldn't quite tell from that camera angle. Is another mistake from X-Nuke, as Nuke does that. He runs wide there on the exit for the second time in 2 laps. So let's see how it goes. He's really getting pressurized now by Colin, but we're going to take a look at how that develops at later on. Mr. Mouse has gotten himself an 8/10 advantage over Valu, and Colin and X-Nuke are actually going for it out of the last corner. X-Nuke having a very compromised exit, and Venice might be all over the rear end of the Alfa Romeo. Let's see how it goes. We have Keyboard Magnussen chasing Valu too far away to do something, but not for the Spaniard. Is going to try to have a look around the outside, doesn't quite get the space. Hydro then might have gotten a better exit there. Actually does not look like it. Let's see how it goes between them. Azalchi is going to have another peek at the outside. He's going to actually go for it. Let's see, will the Renault be able to respond? There's a bit of tire contact there. ALG is going to have the inside now. He's going to take it. Keyboard Magnussen is going to try to hold it around the outside. Will he run wide? No, it does not. Beautiful defensive maneuver there from Keyboard Magnussen to maintain his P4 around the outside. Very nicely done indeed from the McLaren, from the Renault driver rather, as the McLaren of Hydra then has prime seat in the house wall. That LG gets a bit slidey there, coming through the last corner. You are not supposed to just clip the curb on the entry there of turn 9. You are supposed to mount the curb. If you just clip it, your rear is going to bite you and you might spin. So you have to mount actually the curb to nullify the chances of spinning there. So LG almost having a tough moment for him there. Jumping to further back the order, Venice still on the back of this train. Woo! Big tank slapper is not really too smooth on the throttle at this point. Keyboard Madison is going to have another go, or sorry, ALG is going to have another go at the fin. The Spaniard does make the move stick on the inside this time around. Brilliant maneuver from the Red Bull, showing their home fans something to make their tickets money worth, and is going to get himself up to P4. 1.3 seconds away from the top 2 though, so that might get spices. We have Rat going to have a pick at Hydroden that might end up in tears. Hydroden does hold the inside. Very nicely done from the McLaren driver, and also Rat having the sensitivity to get himself away from it all, so he doesn't get himself involved into anything too dangerous. Now, Valu, who got a penalty just at the beginning of this lap, I believe, got a 3-second penalty, and he is going to get himself closer to Mr. Mouse, not close enough to overtake just yet. That's not the case between Rat and Hydroden, as Rat is going to have a better exit out of turn number 4. Hydroden is going to try to answer, not close enough just yet, And oh no, actually he's going for it! I wasn't expecting that, but he actually went for it. Just sent it down the inside. Maybe Rat got a bit deep on the corner, but Hydra then, proper dive bomb from him, and he does get himself up to P6. So great maneuver there from Hydra then, for sure. The British driver getting some good battling there, gets himself P6 for the time being. The other McLaren though looks like he's struggling a bit in the second sector. It doesn't appear to have front wing damage, so yeah, it just struggles a little bit more than Mr. Mouse coming out of the second sector. So he loses a little bit of time. Brad already 7 seconds ahead, so the Brad is really demolishing everyone, and he is on his way to match our championship leader in terms of wins. The championship leader, Vanez, in the Alfa Romeo, has 3 wins at Spain, Monaco and France. Brad Pitt took his first win at Azerbaijan, his second at Canada, might take his one today. At least he's on his way to do so, as Keyboard Magnussen actually gets dropped by Rat. Not sure if there was a driving mistake from him, but he went from P4 all the way, P4 or P5 all the way down to 7. Couldn't quite figure out. Oh, a slash LP is out of the Grand Prix, going to find Tyser. See where is the Mercedes out of turn 1. Not exactly sure what happened to him. Going to try to locate the Mercedes. Maybe it's just despawned. But yeah, slash LP is out of the race. Keyboard Magnussen, he's going to be the first driver to pit, and he's going to get the 5-second penalty for exceeding the speed limit, so very unfortunate for him, and he's going to get himself from softs to mediums. That is going to take until it's going to take it until the end of the race by pitting in lap 11. Oh no, sorry, it's actually going to hards to lap 11. Of course, in terms of the strategies, if you want to make soft mediums, you have to take the tires to about lap 15. If you pit at lap 11, only hards can take you home, unless you are some master at keeping the tires in check. But yeah, it's definitely very hard to pit in lap 11 and still make the medium tires work. Vanez is still struggling with his front wing damage on the right side of that Alfa Romeo. Is going to try to keep himself in the contention for the point spin positions, but he's definitely going to lose some time once he gets himself in the pits. Valu has lost some time to Mr. Mouse as ALG gets himself a 3-second penalty. Nonetheless, the Red Bull is getting increasingly closer to the McLaren, not able to pull the trigger on it just yet. Speaking of McLarens, oh, Delta overtook Vanez. Not sure if there was a mistake from the Portuguese, but Delta gets himself up into the top 10. Let's see how it goes as we have ALG going around the outside of Valdo into turn number 3. Let's see who gets the better exit. They are side by side. The Red Bull is forced to accelerate on the curves, but he's going to get DRS on the downhill approach into turn 4. He's going to pick the inside line. The McLaren actually lets him go to it, and he sends it down the inside, closes the door on Valdo on the exit. And the McLaren drops down a place. Instead, his teammate climbs up a place. So Valdo dropping down to P4, Hydroden moving up to P5. And we are back to where we started. The Ferrari, then both Red Bulls, and then both McLarens, as Tyser is out of the race. Not sure what happened to him. Maybe he just went into the pits and retired there. But yeah, it is what it is. Tyser is out of the session, unfortunately, for him. So we have Keyboard Magnussen, who got himself a brand new set of hards. He has clean air in front of him at least, 5 seconds away to Elemental. So he's going to be able to put the laps, like the fastest laps he can, to undercut his rivals. Of course, his rivals are going to have fresher, softer tires once they pit. But Keyboard Magnussen might be on his way to a very good result as well this time around. Hydra then half a second away from Valu. Valu, does he have front wing damage? He's really struggling at this point. Maybe he just has to save fuel or save ERS, but he's really struggling at this point. You can see how much his teammate just closed in. He doesn't look like he has damage, so something, maybe he depleted himself of resources, I'm not sure, as Nuke and Colin are having a tussle getting themselves into turn number 6. Nuke gets a compromised line, a tighter line, doesn't allow him to get himself as much speed through the corner, and he's going to drop himself down to a P9 for the time being. Steph Farrell in the Williams gets himself up to P8 in his debut Grand Prix. So nicely done, as we have the first of the leaders to go into the pits. That's the Brat going for mediums, which he's taking to the end of the Grand Prix. Venice gets a 5-second penalty, so really a bad day, gone worse for the Portuguese of the Alfa Romeo, as we have also Rats getting himself a set of hearts, actually, which is surprising. Hydroden right behind him gets himself, Hydroden got severely held up. For Rats to be behind him, he gets severely held up. Both Williams went for a double stack, actually. Steph Farrell comes out in P12, just ahead of Venice. Venice, who I assume replaced his front wing. Yes, he did. So, yeah, Steph Farrell lost a lot of time because Venice had to replace his front wing, and for Steph Farrell to be just ahead of him, the American driver really lost a lot of time. The Williams drivers really losing a lot of time, and both of them went onto the R tires, which I find really intriguing. Nonetheless, Brad is all over the back of X-Nuke and is certainly going to pit soon. Mr. Mouse goes to the pit now. He's going to get himself to the pits before his teammate. Colin moves up to P2 as Delta also gets himself, Delta started on the mediums, didn't he? So he's going to take them for a lot longer. But yeah, Mr. Mouse gets himself a set of mediums. Valu gets himself a set of mediums. X-Nuke gets himself a set of mediums as well. And people like Keyboard Magnuson, who undercut them, are going to get past Valu. He dropped a lot of positions. He's actually going to get dropped by Rats there. And yeah, Valu has severely struggled. So let's see how it goes. Jacob, why not do career mode videos as a premiere so we can watch it and chat then? Yeah, that's a possibility. I could do that. I could do that if you guys want. I never think that you guys would be interested in that, but yeah, I can definitely do that in the next upload. Getting ourselves. No, Tiago is not talking about this league. He's talking about career modes. I'm doing videos for career modes. Yeah, he's talking about that. He's not talking about the league racing stuff. As we have Colin and ALG finally getting themselves into the pits. But yeah, as I was saying, Valu dropped down considerably. Of course, Hydroden was battling Rat, yes, but Valu got dropped by Keyboard Magnuson, by Mr. Mouse as well. So, is that Alger? Yes, it is. Alger is going to come out right in the thick of it. And unfortunately for him, it's right at the back of that group, as the Brad continues himself leading the race with Delta and Elemental, who haven't pitted yet, got themselves in P2 and P3 for the time being. Then we have Keyboard Magnuson on 5 laps old Arts, of course, in net P3, I would say that is. Valu is going to try to hunt him down. Of course, Valu has the fresher, softer tires. Hydroden is right behind him, and let's make no mistake, there are probably no team orders in this McLaren team, because Valu is P2 in the championship, and yes, there is a big gap, almost a 50-point gap between P1 and P2 in the championship, but Valu is P2, Hydroden is P3 on the championship, and they are both just split by 1 single point. So no team orders in this McLaren team, at least at this point, as we had Elemental got dropped by Mr. Mouse. And take a look at that. We're going to have, it's going to be a three-wide moment there, as of course Mr. Mouse was vulnerable to the attacks of his rivals, Elemental and Keyboard Magnuson. Slingshot pass, and the Renault makes his way up to P3. ALG is going to battle Rat now. He does get a better traction because, of course, Rat is on the hards, and he's on top of that going to get the RS, so easy maneuver there from ALG to climb up to 8th place, and he's going to allow himself to keep on hunting the McLaren drivers Elemental gets overtaken once again by Mr. Mouse and is going to try to hunt down Keyboard Magnuson. Of course, Mr. Mouse is almost borderline out of DRS range. Oh, looks like he actually got a better turn 7 and 8. So he closed up a little bit. Yes, he's definitely closed up through the last few corners. And is going to be attacking the Finn really shortly, I would say. Elemental and Delta will be pitting around lap 25, I believe. Sorry, no, actually, no, he doesn't need to. He can take it for lap 20. He can pit at lap 20. But yeah, let's see how it goes. It's going to be Delta who is losing pace to the Brat, as we have Colin battle it with Rat at this point. X-Nuke trying to get involved. Ooh, X-Nuke getting a bit of the door shut on him by Rat, and Elemental and Valu get to it again. And Valu does overtake Elemental. Important for the Finn to get another car between him and his teammate, because of course, as I was saying, probably no team orders in this McLaren team, especially as they are so close together in the championship. Both Valu and Hydrodan have as best finishing positions, second place finishes. Both of the McLarens haven't been able to win at any round of this championship, so it's certainly interesting to see how this rivalry between the McLaren guys is going to develop. Hydrodan is going to get to DRS on Elemental. Elemental does have DRS of his own, so Hydrodan is going to be forced to get a compromised line out of turn 1, and ALG is right behind him. He gets a better exit than Elemental, overtakes him. Hydrodan is going to get DRS. He is. Fortunately for him, ALG is not going to be close enough to overtake. Mr. Mouse has a go at Keyboard Magnuson, going to have to go around the outside. It is DRS for the Renault. He does have the other tires with double the amount of laps done on them. Mr. Mouse is able to wang it around the outside. He's going to turn into the inside of turn number 6. Let's see how it goes. Keyboard Magnuson breaks a bit earlier, tries to go for the switchback. He does get a tinier exit, but Mr. Mouse is just too far away for that one to work. So the Red Bull is going to keep himself in P3 for the time being. Of course, Keyboard Magnuson isn't going to give up just yet, as Hydrodan is right behind Valu once again. But it's going to be very close stuff between these guys, as Keyboard Magnuson is going to have DRS available to him, is going to get himself closer and closer to Mr. Mouse. Of course, Valu is going to get DRS. Hydrodan and ALG are all going to get DRS from each other. Elemental is already too far behind. Let's take a look at Keyboard Magnuson. Actually, take a look at Valu, who is a little bit further behind. Keyboard Magnuson actually did not pull the trigger on it, so Valu is not going to be able to pick up any pieces that might come his way, at least this time around. Let's see how it goes into turn number 4. Will Keyboard Magnuson, he does have the advantage of the DRS. He's not going to send it down the inside yet, and is going to maintain P4 for the time being. Let's see how it develops until the end. Of course, he's going to be very close to the Red Bull, at least as close as it can be for time being. Of course, the slipstream and DRS is quite powerful, so despite having the tire disadvantage at this point, he might very well be able to keep on pressurizing Mr. Mouse and potentially even pressurize him into a mistake. In the meantime, the Brat is leading 9 seconds away from Delta, who is 8 seconds away from Mr. Mouse, so really unsurmountable lead from the Ferrari driver there. As we have Keyboard Magnuson looking to pressurize once again the Red Bull to get P3 as is, not quite successful just yet. ALG right in the back of this pack. Let's see how it goes. The DRS is wide open for him, but unfortunately for him, it's also open for everyone ahead of him up into P3. But yeah, it's going to be quite spicy as P3 down to P7 is very, very close together. It's going to be very fun to follow this until the end. Let's see how it goes though. As it is going to be at some point Keyboard Magnuson having a DRS and overtaking Mr. Mouse, or maybe Valu. Because the thing for the McLarens is that Valu is currently with the better tires, so he's able to close in on Keyboard Magnuson. The thing is, the Finn keeps on getting the DRS and slipstream, so Valdo can't just pull the trigger on it, as Elemental finally gets himself into the pits. Elemental is going to get rid of his tires, going to get a set of softs on his car, is going to take them to the end. Delta is going to do the same at the end of this lap, I would say. So let's see how that one goes. And Delta, sorry, not Delta, Mr. Mouse is going to maintain himself P3, but yeah, we are in a bit of a stalemate at this point, because everyone is getting the rest off of each other. If Keyboard Magnussen was running medium tires, he would be able to probably overtake Mr. Mouse and get some battles going and mixing things up, but as it stands, he is quick enough to keep himself in the slipstream and DRS of Mr. Mouse, but he's not quick enough to overtake, and Valu also, because of the DRS and slipstream from the Renault, Valu isn't able to overtake him and get himself into P4, so yeah, it's a bit of a trickle-down effect at the moment, in a bit of a pickle, as Delta finally gets himself into the pits. He's going to get himself the red marked soft tires, so the race starts now for the Toro Rosso driver. He's going to come out of the pits in P11, at least it's what it seems, and he's going to be able to push quite hard until the end of the Grand Prix, as we have ALG having a go at Hydroden, but he does get himself wide. Coming out of turn number 3, Hydroden says thank you very much, and is going to continue in P5, and even though it looks like he has lost out the right to DRS. Valu very, very close to Keyboard Magnussen, as Keyboard Magnussen got himself much closer to Mr. Mouse than he was around this time previous lap. And as you can see, it's now a 20-second gap between Mr. Mouse and the Brad. Brad could pit again, get a set of softs, and try to establish the fastest lap of the Grand Prix while headed towards the win. Let's see how that one goes. He could do that one. It would be certainly interesting. Let's see how it goes. And we are going to have the start of a new lap. Hydroden has managed to get himself just close enough for the DRS effect. So I don't think ALG is going to be able to get himself the advantage of that just yet, as X-Nuke loses a place to Colin. Not sure if X-Nuke got wide or what happened there, but the truth is that Colin moves up a position as Valdo has a move. Sorry, no, it was at Keyboard Magnussen, not Valdo having a move at Mr. Mouse. But yeah, Keyboard Magnussen sends it, and sorry, Valdo sends it and gets past Keyboard Magnussen finally. So the McLaren got past him, and now the McLaren is surely going to be piling up the pressure on the Red Bull, as we also have Rat gets jumped by Delta. Of course, Delta is on brand new softs, Rat is on old hards, even Venez overtakes the Williams driver, and it was really the worst bet for the Williams team to get on hards until the end. So it's very unfortunate, both drivers. Even Steffarel, the stacking was a really poor decision as well. Because we have yellow flags. There's something with Rat. Rat is going slowly, so probably there was something wrong there. As Mr. Mouse gets 3 seconds of penalties, Hydroden is going to get side-by-side Keyboard Magnussen. Let's see how it goes for them. As we are going to take a look at ALG, who has obviously great view as Valdo gets himself up to P2. Hydroden gets past Keyboard Magnussen, so both McLarens moving up a place, so very nicely done from them. ALG is next on the line to try to get himself up to P5. Keyboard Magnussen is definitely struggling into turn 4. It's going to allow ALG to get a better exit. It's going to be a side-by-side moment. Let's see, will Keyboard Magnussen manage to hold on to that P6 of his? Is going to force as much as he can that Red Bull wide. Is going to cost a lot of time to both of them, that attempt of defending. Nonetheless, he does what he wanted to do, which is maintain P5 for the time being, and is also going to get DRS for the start of the next lap. Now we have Mr. Mouse, who's going to get the slipstream of Valdo, but Hydroden is much closer. He's actually going to pull alongside the Dutchman, and almost a bit of contact there from the rear tire of the Red Bull and the front tire of the McLaren. Hydroden does get a better exit. He's going to get to DRS again, going to get the slipstream once again. Let's see how it goes. Let's use the last of the late breakers. The Dutchman as the insiders. Rat is out of the Grand Prix. Hydroden goes around the outside. Beautiful maneuver that is as Hydroden moves up to P3. So very nicely done for the British driver of the McLaren. He needs to keep himself up with Valor because Valor is only 1 point ahead of him in the championship. I'm pretty sure Hydroden doesn't want to let the Finn get too far away, if not only for the inter-team relationship, right? The teammate rivalry that always happens in motorsports. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want Valor to just get away with it just yet. Of course, Mr. Mouse is going to start having the slipstream of two cars and the DRS as well. But yeah, let's see how that one goes. As Keyboard Magnussen is surely going to be a prey now of ALG. Nonetheless, Keyboard Magnussen does have DRS at his disposal. ALG is going, maybe losing a bit of patience. He actually barges Keyboard Magnussen out of the way. Keyboard Magnussen manages to keep himself in it. He's going to get DRS on his rival nonetheless. His rival has a couple or a half car length advantage, and he also had the inside line. So Keyboard Magnussen not having any other choice besides getting overtaken. Of course, ALG could have waited to get the better exit out of turn number 1. So maybe a bit of lack of patience from the Spaniards there. Nonetheless, he's really starting to hunt down the top 4, as well as Mr. Mouse is going to be the first one on the list. Mr. Mouse is not as quick on these mediums as he was on the softs, so not too comfortable there, the Dutch driver, as it looks like. Does he have the wing damage? I'm going to try to figure out. Oh yes, he does have wing damage on the right side of his car. He's going to get himself a replacement top front wing, going to get himself soft tires, and this is really disastrous for Mr. Mouse, who needed a good result after that 15th place at Spain. He got 2 podiums out of the last 3 races. He would have done him well to get a very good result again, but unfortunately got contact potentially in the battle with Valor. He's going to get a brand new set of tires. He's going to get a brand new front wing, so he's going to be rapid. He's probably going to get, even if he gets into the top 10, the extra point for the fastest lap. I believe he could potentially get into the top 10, but let's see. Hydroden is going to take the fight to his teammate, and he's actually going to make it stick into turn 4. Valor gets the motor to P3, and it's ALG getting prime seat in the house for all of that at this point. Let's see how it goes from here on in. Of course, ALG is also a bit safe towards the cars behind him because Keyboard Magnussen is on older, harder tires, so he's going to be losing out a little bit. Valor struggling a little bit. ALG brakes a bit earlier. Going to check if Valor has wing damage. Going to try to take a look at that. Doesn't look to me like there is any wing damage. The Red Bull doesn't look to me like there's wing damage on the Red Bull car either. Yeah, there is not, and Hydroden surely doesn't have any sort of wing damage as well. Of course, he's not going to have DRS though, so Valor is going to start closing in quite a bit. Delta gets a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately for him, but yeah, not enough to overtake Hydroden, and actually going to go with ALG is on board for the moment, as of course Valor is going to have a bit of daylight, going to send it down the inside. Will Hydroden be able to respond? No, he's not. And just like in the previous lap, Valor is going to throw himself back up into a P2. So very nicely done there from the Finn, and we might have a very fun battle for those 2 positions. Of course, the McLarens, the more they battle, the more this benefits ALG, well, let's see how that one develops, as Colin is also very close to X-Nuke. X-Nuke is 5 seconds behind Keyboard Magnussen. Colin could get P6 rather soon. Let's see, the RS is open wide again for ALG's Red Bull and Hydroden's McLaren coming out of turn 1. Who gets the better exit? Let's take a look at that one, as Valor is going to get hunted down by his teammate and the Red Bull. Let's see how it goes, and it is not enough. Hydroden and ALG are not close enough to start battling. Keyboard Magnussen has been able to rejoin the DRS range, so he's going to be able to get DRS on his rivals for a few more laps at least. And we have Mr. Mouse, who is only 1 second away from Elemental. Let's see how quickly he rises, if he can get to the top 10 or not. That would be interesting to see. As we are going to actually take a look at the fastest lap of the race. It's actually Mr. Mouse's fastest lap. Yes, a 107.1. Is not going to get the points if he doesn't get into the top 10. So maybe he's just trying to deny the points to his rivals. Let's see how that one goes, as Venice is actually very close to Delta. Let's see, he's going to overtake Delta. Doesn't look like so just yet. Delta doesn't have DRS to his availability, so it's going to be a sitting duck for the Alfa Romeo of the Portugueses. Oh, LG misses the braking zone, has a bit of a touch, and Kibor Magnussen is going to say thank you very much. He's going to get DRS. ALG, unfortunately for the Renault driver, also has DRS. And let's see, did the Red Bull get wing damage there? I'm going to try to figure that one out. Let me see, once the car gets a bit closer, and no, it doesn't look like he got wing damage. So let's see how that one develops. We also have Venice very close to Delta, not able to pull the trigger just yet. Elemental is getting overtaken by Mr. Mouse, and yep, it did work for the Red Bull driver at this point, who moves up to a P11 after his very misfortunate incident. And jumping back closer to the front, Hydroden 6 tenths away from Valu, as of course ALG also is from Hydroden himself, and Keyboard is from ALG himself. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops until the end of this Grand Prix. We have 4 laps to go here today at the Red Bull Ring. The skies have been quite threatening. Fortunately, no rain during qualifying or the race, even though it would definitely spice things up, make the race a bit more interesting, a bit more exciting. But of course, Austria, especially in sim racing, is always a very fun track. There's always action at this track, either from mistakes or just these big DRS trains, or just the battling itself. Because of course, lots of DRS zones means the guy that's ahead has a very big disadvantage. So fights always end up happening. Going to get ourselves started with lap number 33, and you can see Hydroden has DRS on Valu. Doesn't look like he's gaining too much though. Hydroden maybe is trying to conserve his DRS. He's really pressurizing Valu. As you can see, Valu goes to mode 3 of DRS. Hydroden is on 0, so he's just forcing his teammate to drain himself all off of the resources. Hydroden knows that he can keep himself up this way, because of course he has the slipstream and DRS, so he doesn't need this battery at all, even though I would probably tell him to start using mode 1. But well, let's see how that one goes, as Colin continues his chase on X-Nuke, but the pole driver of the Haas is going to maintain himself in 6th place, which is the best finish for him since Spain. Spain, he got 5th place, then 9th at Monaco, then 0 points at the last 2 races. So it would be his best finish since Spain for the pole of the Haas. Colin isn't able to get away with it just yet. So ALG getting ourselves back to the front. ALG is still hunting down the McLarens, and I think now Hydroden might start to pull the trigger on him, because he starts pulling the trigger on Valu. He's really going to force things. ALG is on mode 0 at this point. ALG has to be the one conserving. Hydroden really can start attacking Valu at this point. Hydroden goes to mode 5, then mode 4. Valu keeps on mode 3 himself, and is just depleting himself of resources. Of course, ALG trying to save his resources at this point. So it's really a very strategic, very nice battle, as well as X-Nuke and Colin come to blows. Ooh, a bit wide from it, and he almost lost the rear there. Colin is going to say thank you very much. I don't know if there was contact, but I know that Colin just said thank you very much and moved up to a P6. Hydroden does have the battery charge advantage, and we are going to be starting the last lap of the Grand Prix. Sorry, it's actually still 2 laps to go, but Hydra then, Valu gets himself modes 3, Hydra then only on modes 2. You can see the difference. You can actually see the difference. It's very nicely done from Hydra then. Very good race from him. From both of the McLarens, actually. They started the race behind the Red Bulls. They are going to potentially finish ahead of both of them. So very nicely done from the McLarens. But and they are probably going to extend their championship lead because, of course, there's only one Ferrari finishing as well. But yeah, Hydra then is really putting the squeeze on Valu's resources, and I like that really, really a lot. So really strategic race there from Hydra then is really playing this one to perfection. ALG is also saving, is also on mode 0, and he also has the luxury of sticking in DRS and slipstream, so Valu is going to have a tremendous pressure by the time we start his last lap. So there we have it. This is going to be it. The Brat is miles ahead. Let's see what Hydra then does. So going on board with him, Valu got himself a few tenths. So this is actually very important from Valu. ALG right behind the McLaren. Let's see if Valu is going to get himself mode number 3 of ERS. Hydra then is on mode 4. Could have Hydra then just bottled it through the second to last lap. And now, Valu with a mistake. This could be Hydra Den's opportunity. Let's see how it goes. He's actually going to contain himself. He's going up to mode 3. He should have gone to mode just 5. Just bring it all in. Yes, he doesn't want to push himself too hard. Nonetheless, the Brat is going to get himself to the last corner, and especially immaculate race from him. Brilliant performance from the Dutchman. And there you have it. Brad Pitt crosses over the line to take home the win of the Austrian Grand Prix. Valu is going to get himself P2. Hydra then looks like he's going to get himself P3. ALG going to finish the race in P4. Take a look at that one, and yeah, looks like that's how it's going to be. Now let's take penalties into account. As Keyboard Magnussen gets himself P4, ALG P5. Ooh, Colin jumps both of them to P4. Brilliant job from Colin. This is his second, it's the second time he gets a 4th place. His best result was a 3rd place at France, so he gets himself a 4th place here at Austria. So very nicely done from Colin. Then Xnut in 7th, Delta in P8. Couldn't quite catch the other drivers. Nonetheless, it is a win to Brad Pitt's 3rd win of the season, really taking advantage of the fact that Venez had issues the entire race, really not going accordingly to plan the race to the Portuguese. And it is Brad Pitt taking home the win and is going to lift up the winner's trophy. Ferrari are back on top as he's getting himself alongside both McLarens, who also had an amazing race today. Valu at the end of it got his experience on his side and managed to maintain P2 with a very good second to last lap. Hydra then got a bit caught out by that last set and then couldn't catch up at the end of the race. So masterfully done by Valu to maintain P2. Second P2 in a row. Hydra then gets himself his 3rd podium of the season. Not his best results though. As we have the full results, it's Brad winning, followed by Valu and Hydra then calling in P4. Keyboard Magnussen with another P5 finish, second P5 in a row. Then we have ALG demoted down to P6, not exactly ideal for the Red Bull driver, as the Spaniard is still in 14th place in the championship. He does need the points. The 6th place is very respectable though. Those penalties really set him back, as we have Xnuke in P7, getting himself nice points after the 2 0-point showings at Canada and France. Delta in P8. Sefarel making his debut in 9th, and Venez having a disastrous race closes the top 10. Not only it was not the greatest race by itself, also in terms of discipline, 11 seconds of penalties for the Portuguese, but among those, a 5-second penalty for exceeding the pit speed limit, and he got, of course, instead of 6, 11 seconds to his name. So the DNFs were Rat, Sticer, and Slash LP, which is unfortunate for them. So 0 points outings for them. But this is it for today's, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever we are about to start a live stream or to post a video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.